Now, one of the things I wanted to show, if I possibly can, most modern bikes in the later, I'm not sure exactly what year it started, they have titanium exhaust parts. Now, titanium and steel are very different, of course. Titanium is harder. It comes in 7 grades that I know of. It may come in more now, but when we used to make model airplane landing gear from titanium, we learned a couple of really important lessons about dealing with titanium. First off, drilling a hole in it, polishing it, machining it, you need, well, basically special tools. It's harder than steel. It also oxidizes, like steel rusts into one color. Titanium, based on the color, now you can see this is a little bit of a yellow color because this part has gotten to that temperature. Where it gets hotter and hotter, it'll turn either blue or red based on how hot that part got. But what happened, I had already polished this once already, and I wanted to show how I did it. It really is no big secret. But what will happen is about once a year, and today's a snowy day, so I got a perfect time to do it. Going over it, I can restore the color, get rid of the yellow. Now, some people, of course, like the yellow, the blue. I'm never quite sure. Now, as an example, if you wanted to, and if I'm not saying this would be a great idea, but if you wanted to, you could take a MAP gas torch and heat this, and it'll turn red and yellow and blue, and maybe if that makes you float your boat or whatever. But I like the polished look. And what happens is if I polish this back, it hasn't been polished in about a year, what'll happen at the end of the polishing, it'll then return to its original color over the course of how many miles, years or whatever. But what I did find out really doesn't, it's not critical. There's no such thing as that I know of titanium polish. It doesn't matter. The cheapest stuff seems to work. What I wanted to show, this is one of the things that a lot of people can't figure out how to do this. So what I'm saying is, maybe there's a tip here, maybe there isn't. If there isn't, it'll cost you the same thing. I take a real big glob of this, put it on a rag. Now in this case, I wouldn't put that much material on unless I was doing a job like this. You can really glob it on. Now a lot of people don't. They have never done this, or they don't know. They polish this part but never get in the back. Now I don't say you have to get in the back because you're basically not going to see it, but you want to see where the transition is. And I call this a shoe shine. Now, a simple shoe shine will renew that without even using a power tool. And you'd have a snowy day like today, or now I know, for instance, several people, Glenn had his, when we had the Ducati motor the motor out and we had the exhaust pipes, we could have done this on the shop floor very conveniently. When it's in the bike, a little less convenient. But this technique lets you get some part of it. Now, and I won't do the whole thing forever, but that is the technique to use. The next technique is wrap it around. And if you're really lucky, you can grab it on the first shot without a hook or anything. And now you see you have the rag wrapped around the whole pipe. Now what's nice about this is you don't have to take the exhaust system off the bike, which for some bikes is really time consuming. You have to take the radiators off, or the oil coolers or something. This really isn't a big deal. And again, this is a rag that just has polish. But what it's going to do, it's going to let the part where this transitions, you won't notice that it all of a sudden stopped being polished and turned into sandpaper. That's the whole deal. Now, my suggestion is any part you can take off the bike and polish is a ton easier. When I had this off and I made this whole exhaust system, it's a lot easier to do this. But what you need to do, or what I'm showing to do, is once a year maybe, is refresh that shine. You get a snowy day, a rainy day, or a day that, you know, whatever, I'm not sure what. You can renew this to where it's going to look absolutely better than new in a matter of 5 minutes. And it doesn't matter. Aluminum comes up instantly, and I wanted to show this just as a difference. Titanium takes a little longer, but it takes a little bit longer then to go back to being oxidized and having those 3 different colors of oxidation. And when you look at those colors, you can pretty much tell where that part is getting hot, or in the case of an exhaust, where there's a restriction. If there's a restriction, you can see it right away. So anyway, this is just basic 101 knowledge. There's nothing special here. That trick, the shoe shine trick, is, I think, a good one that a lot of people have never thought of. And you can see that's came up pretty nice now. Needless to say, all of the stuff when you detail out a bike, detail out a car, it's basically just time and energy. And that really came out pretty nice, I would think. And just to show, and while we have the compound on the reg, I left this, well, the little cap for the, and I made this out of carbon fiber. The original bike had aluminum parts. This aluminum comes right back, but the problem with aluminum, in a couple of months it goes back to where you got to do this over and over again. Not sure if you can see how quick that came up. Bingo. These little straps, and I made these straps, so I know they're made out of relatively soft aluminum, easy to bend. They'll come right up. And that's the whole thing with any polishing job. A lot of people think it's all in what compound you buy and what speed you run the buffer at and everything. A lot of times just doing the maintenance, in fact this part here, I had this off the bike already, polished it over on a big buffing wheel, and it was super easy to do, this little piece in here. But once you do it, here's my whole point, once you do it and the part is basically flat, and maintaining it super easy. In a matter of maybe a half an hour, I'll have the whole bike done. 45 minutes, whatever. By the time Karen brings out the cookies and the coffee, but I'm just showing those parts. You can look at, I don't think we've gone 5 minutes on the video. Now, what you can do, if you want to go spend a little more time, now, keep in mind, this is the part you see. You're looking right here. Your eye only picks up this part. It doesn't see back there. So that part right there, we'd like to get an exceptional shot on. Now, when you really want to go to the next, make yourself, I call it the make yourself crazy level. What this pad is a soft pad. And all this pad has on it is wax. So this will protect it over the winter while it's sitting out here in this cold garage. And again, each one of these, it just pays just to do a little test. Here's one of the things you can always use as a wheel like this to do some of the polishing. Again, these things aren't that expensive, but this will allow you to get a little further back. And of course, the thing about all of this, it's in the eye of the beholder. Maybe some people like it looking rough. Some people like it shiny. I personally like that. It makes cleaning the bike after a ride, especially a ride like we've had lately, the roads are dirty. It makes cleaning the bike so much easier to be able to do this or to maintain it. And now it's not only polished, but it's got a nice coat of wax on it to boot. But I just wanted to show that. A couple other little things while we're talking about titanium here. Again, all of these pipes on this bike are titanium. Now this side I purposely didn't polish. I wanted to show this one has that taint of yellow, orange. That'll polish right off. Things like the shift linkage, it's easy to take it right off the bike and polish it. But the biggest part of this whole bike, let me move this over here, turn this. The biggest part of this bike to polish, well, let's do it from this side first. Those pipes in there, I spent a lot of time polishing them up. That really was a big job. But again, in my case, it's a lot of everything in this thing is a labor of love, let's face it. Let me look from this side. And I think when you look at that compared to a stock motorcycle, I like that look a lot better. It's a lot easier to clean. It's a lot easier to maintain. And it's just one of the things now, while we're talking about titanium, that bike, that's a focal point of the bike, having those pipes polished. When those pipes were not polished, I didn't like it at all. They're kind of polished up nice now. It's a nice little detail. It's a detail you can do yourself that won't cost you a penny. We just did a video on polishing up this engine. If you really want to have a labor of love, go pick up an old FZR and polish the frame. Oh my God, I can't even remember. We did a lot of this in Luciano's garage when it was 5 degrees out. I bet Luciano didn't forget that. Another thing that's easy to polish up, I had these off when I restored this bike. All of these things come right off. That makes it real easy. All of the parts down here, had to swing an arm off the bike. I think we do have a video out there. In fact, it's one of them that has several hundred hits. So, but that's my point. And of course the RD engine. These are the little things. They're not big. They're little things. But this is what happens is I decide at some point in time that I like the way this stuff looks. And so there's a little bit of a price to be paid in terms of energy, time, whatever. But in the end, it's all the little details that when you're getting a bike ready for a ride, just having that polished up. And I never really realized how important it is to me anyway, until all of a sudden I park next to somebody that just has a brand new stock bike. And then I think, wow, even these rims, I've polished these rims up. If that isn't the way a stock bike comes. So that's just another thing. But I just wanted to share that little tip. These little polished parts, and polishing titanium, pretty much like steel, except it just takes a little more work. And in the end, I think it adds a nice little touch to any bike, no matter what bike you do. And I hope some part of this little video inspired you to, I don't know, brush your teeth or whatever. I'm never sure what. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it.